Okay, we're going to start our traditional color wheel exercise using the handout that I gave out in class. I've created a new file. The dimensions are 8 inches by 8 inches, just one artboard for now. It's RGB mode. On number 2, it says show rulers. Go up to view, rulers, show rulers. The hotkeys are Command R. Right? There's your rulers. If they're not in inches, you didn't create it in inches, you can right click here and you can choose inches right there. Right? So it says in number 2, drag one guide down to 4 inches and one vertical guide down to 4 inches. And what in essence we're going to be doing is dividing the artboard in quarters, 4 equal quarters. So here's this guide and here's the vertical guide. And we've divided it up. Drag the XY coordinates, which you can drag by clicking and dragging this corner of your window. Click and drag it down to the intersection of the two guides you just created. All right, now the XY 0, 0 will be centered right there. You want to make sure your guides are locked. By default, they usually are, but check. Go into the View menu. Go to Guides at the bottom and make sure Lock Guides is checked. You want to make sure it's checked because once you start selecting items, you don't want to select your guides by mistake. Now we're going to draw the main circle that our color wheel will go around. The U's will go around that. So let's get the ellipse tool. What you're going to do is draw a 6-inch circle centered on the intersection of the guides. So to do that, you're going to put your cursor right at the intersection, hold down Option or Alt to make sure it draws from the center, and then hold Shift at the same time and it will draw a perfect circle from the center. Notice what happens. I get a width and height measurement indication by my cursor as I pull out. That's an easy way to see how big my circle will be. And it says to be 6 inches, wants to be 6 inches. 6.09 is fine. If you can get it to 6, closest to 6 as you can, that's fine. By default, it gives it a fill of white and a stroke of black. We want it to have a fill of none. And the stroke should be a gray. So let's take out our color panel. Make the stroke a nice light gray. You can go up here and go to grayscale. And with the stroke active, you can make it about, I don't know, about 50% gray. It's good. Okay, so there's my gray stroke. Okay, click off. That's our first circle that we make. We're basically using this as a guide. Okay. The coordinates of this will be 0, 0. You can check the transform panel if you'd like to. And you could see XY is 0, 0. Okay, that's important because what we're going to do is we're going to create circles that we later fill with the colors, and we're going to have them rotate around this circle. So we want to make sure that this is centered on 0, 0. That's the whole reasoning behind setting up these guides this way and setting the XY coordinates down here to 0, 0. All right. The next step is you're going to create a new layer for the colored circles. It says to lock the layer that this is on, everything we created. So let's open our layers panel. We'll drag it out here for now. Actually, let's drag the artboard panel out too. I'll put them all together. Okay, so on the layers panel, everything I've drawn up to now is by default on layer 1. We're going to lock layer 1 and we're going to create a new layer. You can name it if you want. I'm going to choose to name it Color Wheels because that's what's going on here. And hit enter. So since layer 1 is locked, I can no longer select this path at all. We want to do that because we want to make sure we don't move that path that we just created. So on our new layer, we're going to create our color wheels. To do that, you're going to make a 3/4 inch circle that intersects the circle we drew and this guide. So if you want, you can zoom in at that point. All right, take your ellipse tool, start by drawing right at the intersection of that circle and that guide. Hold down Option to draw from the center, hold down Shift to make a circle. And what we're going to do is we're going to create one that's 0.75 inches or 3/4 inches. Here we have 0.61, 0.75. Oops, there you go. Okay, so there's my first circle. By default, it gave it the fill and stroke that this has. What you can do if you want is, what do I say to do? Let's see. Let's give it a default. Either click D or click this icon right here to give it a default fill and stroke of white and a black stroke. Makes it a little bit easier to do the next few steps. If you double click the hand tool, you'll be taken back to fit and screen. Now what we want to do is we want to create 11 more circles that go around in equal distance around the main circle, the main guide circle that we've created. And what you're going to do is you're going to have that circle still selected. You're going to click on the rotate tool. Clicks with the rotate tool clicked. Notice what we have with the rotate tool selected. Now in the middle of our circle we have this little crosshair, the little blue crosshair. What we want to do is we want to move that little blue crosshair down to here. What that little blue crosshair is it's the point at which a transformation, in our case rotation, will take place around. And we don't want the circle to rotate on itself. We want the circle to rotate around this larger circle. So we have to move that little blue crosshair down to the middle, right here, at the intersection of our main guides. To do that, just click once, and you'll notice now you've moved it there. It's no longer located up here. Next, what you want to do is you want to hold this, click the circle. Then what you want to do is hold the option key down, because what that's going to do is it will give you a copy. All right. If you don't hold the option key down, what you're basically going to do is just move that circle around. We want to create a copy of that circle, so we hold the option key. Do make sure though with the rotate tool you click on that main circle first, that first circle first, and then hold the option key. What we want to do is we want to bring this to where it says about 30 degrees, right? We need 12 of these circles that go around. So a circle is 360 degrees around. So divided by 12 it equals 30. So each one is placed about 30 degrees around. So let up. Now we've created that circle. The easiest way to create the other circles around, you could do that again, but guess what? There's an easier way. If I press Command D, it will replicate the last transformation I did. In our case, the copy of the circle that goes around. So that's what we want to do. We want to press Command D until we get Command D, all 12 circles that we need to be around there. And then there's one more. So let's check. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are all our circles that we need for our color wheel. Now I give you the numbers, the HSB numbers that you need to color in these circles. These are our colors. The most prismatic colors that we'll use will go on the outside. Let's create this one, color this one red. In your color panel, go to HSB, the HSB sliders. This is an easy way to assign the colors around the color wheel. The reason being, set S and B to 0 for now. Okay. Oh, and make sure your fill is active. With the fill active as white, as you can see, S will be down. Saturation will be all down at the bottom. We want to have it, everything 100% here, these two. Up here is the number, the hue, the degrees is what you're going to change. And remember we said a circle was 360 degrees. Those are the corresponding degrees you'll find here. So instead of this being a circle, what they've done is they've taken this circle and they've just laid it out in a strip. So 0 degrees will be found here, and that will be our red, okay? Don't forget though, if you take this and take this strip and form it to a circle unto itself, 0 will also be 360. Okay, because 360 in a circle, 0 starts here, we go around, 360 will be back up at the top. So that's why 360 and 0 will both be red. Okay, now at the bottom, I give you the numbers to indicate. All right, so yellow, blue, orange, green, and violet. All right, now a traditional color wheel, the primaries will be red, yellow, and blue. And the primaries will be located equidistant apart. Actually, it's inscribed on a triangle on the color wheel, the primaries. So yellow will be located right here. So click that one. Of course, it'll go back to white because we have a white fill. Put these up to 0, up to 100, I'm sorry. And the number for yellow, it tells us, is 60. You can use the slider, or what you can do is you could just highlight this, type 60 in, and hit return. And there's our yellow. Blue would be this one because it's equidistant apart, or if you like to think every 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, because there's 3 primaries. 12 divided by 3 is 4, so that's how you get 4. 0, and the number for blue is 240 degrees, and hit return. Okay, so there's my blue. So there are my primaries. Now I want to fill in my secondaries. I gave you the numbers, but if you want to think of it mathematically, between 0 and, what's this one? 60, it's halfway, which would be 30, right? So that's how you click these numbers in. So orange would be 30. These would both be 100 because we're dealing with the prismatic. Now it says hue, saturation, and brightness. But this really is not the saturation that we were working with last week. What this is it basically adds white. If you lower the percentage of this, it will add black. It will create your shades. If you lower the percentage of this, it will create your tints, adding white. If you lower both of them, what it does is it creates a tone, all right, or a muted color. So for our colors around the color wheel, we're going to generally create them to be 100% for the saturation and brightness sliders. Let's see, mix between blue and yellow is green, and I gave you the number there was 150. hit return. Note though that if I have the green at 100% for saturation, 100% for brightness, what will happen is you'll get a green that's more an RGB green type of green. We want a traditional color wheel green because that's the green we think of in terms of designing. So to get that green, we need to make it a little bit darker. So just bring that down to about 70, 72%, 74%, whatever you think on your screen is a nice screen. Click off, check it. Yeah, that's a nice screen. Okay, so the last secondary we may need to make is the violet, and that will be located equidistant between the two primaries that are used to create it. And the number I gave you for that is 300. So I can do it this way, or I could just key it in here. Now note, just like the green, the violet tends to be more of a RGB violet. We want to make it a little bit darker, so bring this number down again. And that's more of a violet that you would see for a nice violet that you would see for a color wheel, traditional color wheel. All right, so we've done that. Our next step will be to create the intermediary colors. Those are the colors that are created by mixing up the primaries with the secondaries. All right. So our first one will be a mixture of red and orange, or what we will call red-orange. Right. The intermediaries are never called by the secondary color first. So this wouldn't be orange-red. It's always red-orange. This would be yellow-orange right here because the name will begin with the primary color. All right, this will be yellow green, not green yellow. All right, and so on. All right, so let's mix this one up. If we know the numbers of 0 and then this one was 6, orange was 30, all right, halfway between 0 and 30 is 15. So that's how we know what number to put in here. So it's 15 degrees. All right, 1506, it won't really take it. So there's our red-orange. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to add 15 to each one of these. Okay, so plus 15, this is 30. So this one would be 30 plus 15, which is 45. Okay, and it'll default a little bit. Don't worry about that. We're not perfect, and nobody's perfect. We can't expect to be. This one was 60. 60 plus 15 would be 75. Okay, and then of course we have to bring these up too. All right. So there's our yellow green. This one was 150. 150 plus 15 is 165. All right, and remember, because it's a green, we need to put a little of that darkness in it, okay, to make it a nice blue-green, or else it gives us a nice, you know, RGB green, which we don't want for our traditional color wheel. Blue was 240. 240 plus 15 is 255. Okay. This was 300. 300 plus 15 would be 315. Right. Okay, there you go. And again, you have to make that one a little bit darker. Okay, so that's our red-orange right there. And then if you went all the way back to the top, well, let's make this 330. I don't want that to be 320. 320 would be okay for that one. Sometimes it's not exactly 15, and sometimes what you have to do is you have to kind of look at, you know, what your idea of a red violet might be. It might not be, it's between this and this one, it might not be at 350 15. It might be a little higher at 322. So it's a little subjective, these colors. All right, so here we have our colors. What you want to do is you want to select them all. You want to give them a stroke of none. Okay, we don't want them to have a stroke before we go to the next step. Or when we go to the blending steps. Now, the next step that you have to take is you're going to have little circles at the center here. And what you're going to do is you're going to mix the color in the circle. In this case, it's our first artboard, so it will be white. We haven't created it yet. We're going to in a minute. What you're going to do is you're going to mix those colors together to get nice tints on this first artboard. So let's create that circle. Get the ellipse tool, and I think I tell you to make it about 0.25 inches. So again, holding down the Option key to draw from the center, and the Shift, we're going to make it about a 1/4 inch. If you're a little over, that's okay. All right, and I'm a little over, just for purposes, so you could see it. Give it a default for now of the default fill-in stroke. All right, now what we have here are our basics of our color wheel, and we only have it on one artboard for now. What we have to do is now we have to create 3 other artboards that look just like this. And if you remember from last week, or when we did the saturation projects, it's easy to do that in the artboards panel, and I have that open right here. If you don't have that open, you can find it under the window menu. Mine's already checked because I have it open. All right, so what I would do is create 3 more artboards because we need 4 altogether. We're going to have 4 different color wheels, traditional color wheels, one based on tints, one based on shades, one based on light tones, and one based on dark tones. So what you do is, this is the new artboard icon. You click and drag artboard 1 down to the new artboard icon to make a copy. And there's our copy over there. Do it 2 more times because we need 4 in total. 3, 4. Make sure there's 4 here. If you want to zoom out, you can zoom out with the zoom tool, or down here you can change your percentage. I like to do it down there. Let's just go here. Also, if you want to arrange them differently, you can arrange them in the artboard panel itself or use the artboard tool. We've used both of those in the saturations project. So I want them to be grid by row. All right, 2 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll stack them like that. That's okay. Make sure Move Artwork with Artboard is checked. Okay, so there are our 3. Notice what happened though. It didn't move this. So first, let's undo that. Okay. What also didn't happen is it didn't take this when I created the artboards. We don't need this circle anymore. Okay, so it's not a big deal. But if you do want the circle still, the main circle guide, you can unlock that before you create new artboards. I'm not going to worry about that. In fact, right now I'm going to just turn that layer off by clicking the visibility icon. And now I won't even have to worry about it. Okay, so let's go back and let's rearrange our artboards again. Where was I? No, I'm not in layers. Artboards. Rearrange artboards. Okay, that was fine. That's the last thing I put in there, and it takes place. Okay, so now I have my prismatic colors going around the circle on the outside, and then a little circle of color in the middle. This one will be white. This is going to be our tints. Now you can name them here, but I also suggest naming them on here and giving them little labels here, just so when you're in each artboard you can really identify which set of colors you're dealing with. So let's do that right here. I'll create a title right here, which are tints, T-I-N-T-S. Now if you're not sure what that means, you can, I'm going to make it a little bigger so you can see it. Okay. tints, if you're not sure what that means, what you can do is you can put in what that means. And on the example I have on Blackboard, I had put that in, which tints are U plus white. Okay, so that's what tints are, in case you're not sure. All right. Now, what you want to do is you want to have a label, similar label on each of your artboards. You can copy it, Command C. You can go to Artboard 2 by double-clicking here. Artboard 2 will be our shades. What you can do is you can go to Edit, Paste in Place. It will paste it right in the corresponding section that it appears on the first one. If you don't paste in place and just hit paste, it'll put it right in the center. So either way, you know, do it the way you want to do it. I like to do it this way because then I don't have to move it down each time. Now this one will be shades. This one will select that. Shades. What shades are is the U plus black. And it's not going to show because I need to make that box bigger. Okay. Shades are U plus black. So we're going to make this little thing in here black, the center circle. We're going to give it a fill of black. Take the stroke off also. And later we're going to take the stroke off that white one in the tints artboard, because when we mix these colors together, these don't have strokes. We don't want the little circle in the center to have strokes. Okay, you can also rename them here in the artboard, and I will, just because I like to be organized. Double click here. These are shades. Double click here. The third one will be light tones. The fourth one will be dark tones. Tones are a result of adding the hue plus a gray. So in this case, let's go to the light tones. This will be a light gray. And what we could do is we want to give it a stroke of none and a fill of one of the grays. Now, we have HSB up here in the color panel, those sliders active because that's what we last used. But if you go to the menu, oh, wait a minute, right here, go to the menu, you'll get a grayscale option, and then you can pick a grayscale. And make sure, guys, when you're working, you always hit show options, because then you get all of this. If your show options is not available, you only get this. Okay, it's good to be more precise when you pick grays or any of the have available sliders, so you always want your options to show. So for light tones, what did I see? Did I give you one? I would say I put it down here. About 25% fill. Anywhere 25, 30 is fine. Okay. The tones will be lighter depending on how much percentage gray. So if I have a really light gray, like a 13, these tones will be much lighter. I'm going to put it about 24, 25, 26, something like that. It doesn't matter. As long as you're not this light. You don't want to be 8% because that won't really, you know, give you a nice light tone that you can deal with. And again, you can see, I mean, we could have up to 100% different tones. We're just doing 2, light and dark. So for this one, I'm going to keep mine at 30. All right. Now, of course, what I want to do, click here and go Edit, Paste in Place, because I want to rename these tones or light tones. And then I'll just know I mixed them with the gray. All right, there's that. Let's go to dark tones. The dark tones, let's paste that in place first. Paste in place. And I'm going to call it dark tones. Hit return. And then this circle, the middle circle, will have a stroke of none. And then the fill, go to my grayscale again, will be about 70, 70, yeah, 60, 70, something like that. You don't want to make it too dark. If you make it too dark, what starts to happen is as you mix these colors in, they can become very, very dark very quickly. And the amount of hue or the saturation will be so low, it'll just basically look like a black. So you don't want them to be too dark. I would say about 70 would be good for this one. All right, so make 70. I know I give you different numbers, about 70, about 75. But, you know, do it, I would say 70 would be good. So maybe I need to change it. I'm just going to pull this down. All right, so make sure you save frequently. Of course, I haven't saved mine at all. I'm going to save it. I'm going to just put this on my desktop for now because I have quite a few versions of this already for having the class so many times. And I'm just going to call it Traditional Color Wheel. And just hit OK. I'm going to keep it CC because now we're using CC. And of course I have, you know, my window, my monitor is such that I want to show you a nice large version of everything on the screencast, but unfortunately it cuts off at the bottom, so I just have to hit return to save it. And there's my Traditional Color Wheel, my beginning. The next video, what I will show you is I will show you how to mix now the colors and create these blends to make these nice mixtures and steps in between for each one of our artboards and each one of our color circles. So that video will be next.